Hello everyone, I'm Niluka. Our paper is titled Complex Shape of Anonymity of Cryptocurrencies, Case Studies from a Systematic Approach. Co-authors of this paper are Xavier, Boyen and McKague. First, I'd like to briefly explain the motivation behind our work. As you are aware, cryptocurrencies have become popular over the years since the inception of Bitcoin. If you consider the traditional banking system, for example, it relies on a central trusted authority, which is the bank. Privacy of customer data depend on this central authority, and they are bound to preserve the privacy of such data only by regulation. We often hear about compromises of privacy of customers and transactions. As opposed to that, cryptocurrencies operate as fully decentralized implementations without having to rely on a central authority, which makes it convenient to conduct transactions. And also, they can be easily converted across borders and have high resistance against security compromises. Above all, they offer reasonable privacy and anonymity guarantees. So, due to these reasons, cryptocurrencies have become popular over the years. Bitcoin can be regarded as the first true cryptocurrency which is permissionless and fully decentralized. However, Bitcoin has received a lot of criticism for its privacy issues. Since Bitcoin transactions are public, anybody can trace the transaction graph. So, Bitcoin is said to have a form of pseudonymity instead of anonymity. To address these anonymity issues, many have attempted to improve anonymity of Bitcoin, while some have attempted to construct new cryptocurrency schemes. And they claim that some cryptocurrency schemes have higher level of anonymity and some have weaker levels of anonymity. But these claims are based on specific constructions. When the constructions differ, these claims can't be taken into other currency schemes. And also, there are no formal anonymity notions across different constructions. And in some instances, some anonymity notions are interpreted differently in the context of different currency schemes. So, with that background, question is how to reliably compare anonymity of two different constructions. How can we formalize existing different notions under one framework? That's what motivated us in this study. In this context, our contribution in this paper is to demonstrate how we can achieve a uniform, fine-grained systematization of the level of anonymity achieved by cryptocurrencies, irrespective of their underlying construction. We achieve this through the analysis of several cryptocurrency schemes which claim to have improved anonymity levels compared to Bitcoin. Theoretical background of this work is included in a separate ePrint report as referenced in our paper. This proposed framework is constructed based on a theme-based approach. We consider only the functionality of a generic currency scheme without considering the underlying consensus mechanism. We consider a comprehensive adversarial model to encapsulate a wide range of attacker scenarios under one framework, which enable us to capture a large number of factors affecting anonymity. For further details, you can refer to the ePrint paper. This is the core of our framework, which is the adversarial model. This is fed to a parametric experiment, which then produces distinct anonymity definitions based on each unique parametric combination. Our adversarial model is defined with respect to the adversary in terms of what the adversary wants to achieve, what the adversary knows, and what the adversary can do. So this is modeled as adversary's objective capabilities defined in terms of knowledge and power. Then we break down each of these into other factors such as what type of knowledge the adversary can process, what type of actions the adversary can perform, and so on. This table lists the different levels of knowledge with respect to each parameter. We consider the knowledge of public and private keys, transaction values, metadata such as IP addresses, and public and private transaction data. So each parameter has a value starting from 0 and increasing as the adversary gets more power. For example, with the value of 0, with respect to public keys, adversary doesn't have access to any of the public keys. So the public keys are hidden. But with the value of 1, these keys are hidden, but the adversary gets to know the public keys at the end of the game. Likewise, we represent adversaries from static, passive, up to adaptive adversaries. This table summarizes what the adversary can perform. So this is broken down to adversary's ability to manipulate state, how adversary can influence state initialization at the setup of the game, and adversary's ability to cause minting to fail. As before, increasing value represents increasing power on the part of the adversary. In addition, we also introduce another parameter to represent adversary's objective. So here we consider 4 different test entities on which adversary can expect anonymity aspects. These entities are sender, recipient, value, and metadata. So this is the parametric experiment, which we call anonymity game. Once again, full details of this are available in the theory paper. So the initial experiment setup is performed according to what the adversary's capabilities are, and then adversary provides inputs based on their knowledge and power, and then we create 2 transactions according to the goal, and a bit is chosen at random, and the corresponding transaction is minted at the end of the game. And if the adversary is allowed to cause minting to fail, then that is also taken into consideration. So in the end, adversary makes a guess as to which transaction has been minted. So anonymity definitions are defined based on adversary's advantage of winning the game for a given scenario. So this slide shows some example scenarios on how we model security with respect to adversarial objectives. So this one is what we call sender indistinguishability. Here we have we create 2 transactions with exact data, except that the senders are different. So here, adversary knows the senders, possible senders, by their public keys. And when it comes to sender unlinkability, it's same as sender indistinguishability, but here adversary doesn't have any knowledge of the possible senders. So sender unlinkability is a slightly weaker notion of sender indistinguishability. So similarly, We can define recipient indistinguishability and recipient unlinkability. Difference is that there are two possible recipients instead of senders. So each parameter combination results in a unique anonymity notion. We use the naming convention similar to traditional cryptographic definitions in the form of goal, knowledge, and power. For example, strongest adversary in our model can be given by all IND full, where all entities are being tested against an adversary with full knowledge and full power. Conversely, weakest is nil, where two identical transactions differing only in randomness are created. So similarly, other notions are named appropriately to represent different scenarios. Now we present a summary of the case studies where we analyze several cryptocurrency schemes having diverse implementations to demonstrate how to represent anonymity in a very meaningful manner. So for this analysis, we considered a trusted third-party system and also Bitcoin, and then Zcache, Monero, and Nimblewimble, three currency schemes which are claimed to have higher levels of anonymity. Now let's look at this trusted third-party model. This is claimed to have a very strong level of anonymity. This TTP system relies on a trusted central authority, and it consists of a private state where all transaction data are hidden, invisible. And the communication happens on authenticated channels, so there's no information leak whatsoever. So our analysis shows that this type of scheme is secure against the strongest adversary. This means that even if the adversary has control over users, they can't obtain additional information about transactions. So this notion is given by all IND full, which can also be regarded as absolute anonymity or fungibility. Of course, it may not be realistic, but it can serve as a benchmark for comparison. Now we illustrate this notion in a spiderweb diagram as shown here. So each of these dimensions represent different parameters of our adversarial model. This innermost circle represent a value of 0 and increasing as we move out of the center. And one thing to note though is that these parameters are not shown to scale. For example, these omega values here only take two values, 0 or 1, whereas this psi t here takes values from 0 to 5. So it's not up according to a scale, but it serves the purpose of making meaningful comparisons between anonymity notions. So now we move on to Bitcoin. It's the first true cryptocurrency scheme having a fully decentralized implementation. In this system, all payment addresses and transactions are public. So the full history of the transactions is visible to anyone, which compromises anonymity. In our model, we see that Bitcoin is secure against only a very weak adversary, which we define as nil V. This means that no adversary is able to distinguish between two identical Bitcoin transactions that differ only in randomness. If we represent this in our graph, this is what we get. So here all parameters are 0 except for this alpha and beta. Alpha is the state initialization parameter. So this alpha equals 1 means the system is secure only when there's an honest initialization. And delta is the ability to manipulate the state. So Bitcoin has a public state, which means delta is 1. So if we increase any of the parameter values, Bitcoin becomes insecure. Next, we look at Zcache, which is an extension to Bitcoin with an aim to improve anonymity. So Zcache uses shielded payment addresses and cryptographic primitives such as ZCache to achieve anonymity, and also transaction values are hidden in the public state. So for this analysis, we only considered the shielded transactions. This means only the transaction between shielded addresses. And our analysis shows that Zcache achieves its strongest level of anonymity with respect to all entities when only the public keys and also the transaction are known to the adversary, and also the adversary is not allowed to make minting to fail. So we denote this as all IND pub SAT active. Once again, in this graph, we can show it like this. And if we are to compare this with Bitcoin, as you can see, Zcache has much better anonymity compared to Bitcoin. However, in Zcache, typically users are allowed to choose whether they want to conduct shielded or unshielded transactions. So if unshielded transactions are ignored, anonymity of Zcache degrades down to that of Bitcoin. Now we look at Monero, which has also become popular due to its improved anonymity claims. Monero is a new construction we call altcoin, operates based on the cryptonode protocol. The main feature here is that it uses ring confidential transactions to achieve sender anonymity and stealth addresses to achieve recipient anonymity. In addition, Monero transaction values are also hidden. So Monero uses a group of dummy public keys which are termed mixins to hide the sender. We use the parameter metadata in our module to represent mixing information. In this construction, our analysis shows that the highest level of anonymity achieved by Monero is all IND near empty publics are active. In this case, if the adversary has the knowledge of mixins, that could compromise sender anonymity. Hence, we want metadata to be hidden from the adversary. And we represent that in this graph. And you will see a comparison of these anonymity notions in a while. Finally, we analyzed Mimblewimble, which uses a different approach to Bitcoin and other altcoins. This uses confidential transactions and transaction aggregation to achieve anonymity as well as scalability. Once again, this also uses hidden values and addresses. One difference here compared to others is that the protocol requires that the sender and recipient need to pre-communicate some transaction details before broadcasting the transaction to the network. In addition, in Mimblewimble, transaction aggregation doesn't happen instantly, so transactions may be visible on the blockchain before getting removed as part of the aggregation process. So here we assume that the adversary doesn't get to see the history of the states before the aggregation happens. With those assumptions, our analysis shows that Mimblewimble satisfies the all IND pub SRT active at its strongest level. And this is represented by this graph. Now let's look at some comparisons in anonymity notions. First, let's look at sender anonymity. So here we can see how sender anonymity is achieved by different currency schemes. In this one, we consider sender indistinguishability. As expected, trusted third party has the highest level, and then followed by ZCache, Monero, and Mimblewimble. So Monero and Mimblewimble have a slightly weaker levels of anonymity compared to ZCache in some dimensions, while Bitcoin has the weakest of all. So similarly, this shows how sender unlinkability is satisfied by each scheme. So sender unlinkability can be considered as a slightly weaker notion of sender indistinguishability, as it's seen, it can be seen in this graph. Similarly, we look at how recipient anonymity compares in each of the schemes. Once again, TTP has the highest, then ZCache followed by Monero, and same in the Monero and Mimblewimble, same scenario with the recipient unlinkability. Next, we look at anonymity with respect to transaction value. So in value indistinguishability, once again, TTP is the highest, and then ZCache and Mimblewimble seem to follow a very similar level of anonymity with respect to transaction value. Monero is slightly weaker in that sense due to the involvement of mixins, and same holds for value unlinkability as well. The full report of this theoretical model, as I mentioned before, is available as a print report. This report has the details of the framework, formal definitions of anonymity notions, and also these anonymity notions form a multidimensional structure in terms of their implications, equivalences, and separations. So we have also formulated a set of theorems to demonstrate that. All those details are available in the full report. In relation to future work, as I mentioned before, we didn't consider the underlying mechanism, underlying consensus mechanism for this framework. So there's a possibility that these consensus mechanisms might independently contribute towards achievable anonymity levels. Hence, this needs to be studied in detail to provide a comprehensive visualization of anonymity achieved by a currency scheme. So for this purpose, we can use the existing framework, and the parameter metadata can be used to represent data related to consensus mechanisms. So that way we can expand the network to accommodate consensus mechanism as well. In addition, another research direction is to extend this adversarial model to other cryptographic systems or decentralized systems, because we have a very comprehensive adversarial model which will help one analyze security of cryptographic systems. In conclusion, our analysis has demonstrated how anonymity is a nuanced concept and how it depends on a wide range of factors. As you saw from the graphs, a minor change in one factor could drastically affect the achievable level of anonymity. So that emphasizes the need for a fine-grained systematization as you demonstrate. So these anonymity notions resulted from this framework we use are unique and precise, and they are able to provide such fine-grained systematization, which allows easy comparison across different constructions as demonstrated through our case studies. With that note, I conclude this presentation, inviting all to have a look at the full paper in the proceedings. Thank you very much.